Hi, thanks for taking a minute to listen to this presentation. My name is Amanda Stangert, and for my final white paper assignment, I chose to look at automation of HR information through an HRIS. Walking through the presentation, we will look at kind of where we sit currently, the background information that got us here, what the actual problem is, some assessments that I've made, and then ending with my recommendations for moving forward. Looking at our current systems, we have over 10 standalone systems that do not talk to one another. In order for the learning management system to get employee information, it is all manually updated. Looking at time and attendance, again, that is a separate system from our payroll system, so it's pulling files from one to put into another. Out there, the HRIS systems that are available could have all of these in one system. What I hope to bring to light through this presentation is the amount of money that we're spending on all of these standalone systems, in addition to the manual work that's required to get these systems to integrate with one another and talk to one another. And then, of course, there's my favorite, Excel. We do a lot of manual tracking in Excel as well. Looking at the background, the system we currently have is an on-prem system. What that means is that everything is housed right on our actual campus. This creates a lot of extra work for the IT department, maintenance, keeping up with it. Any training, any updates that are done after the manual upload require us to train ourselves kind of on what's new. The reporting in an on-premises system cannot be changed. There is not ad hoc reporting. It is more rewriting custom integrations or exports. The one most recently that we had to look at was an HSA payroll contribution, and what was going through payroll and being fed to the benefits administration and then ultimately to the FER was not aligning. And it was $17,000 to have a report created because we're on premises and they could not adjust that and update that through the cloud. In addition to the manual work, we're looking at a workforce that we haven't seen in the past. 2022, we had 136 external hires and 102 terminations. So net 34, and at no time did we have less than 50 open positions. So far, year to date in 2023, we are on track to exceed those numbers from 2022 with 65 external hires as of June 18th and 69 terminations. So we are -1 of all of the people we have hired. How does this apply to a HRIS system? When everything is done manually, when our applicant tracking is in a Excel spreadsheet, the manual work that the HR teams put into recording this data is extensive. And in addition to that, there's the human error piece of it, where if you forget to enter something or you actually accidentally delete something, there's not that audit trail, there's not that tracking. So you're really looking at a lot of room for human error in data that executives and senior leaders are looking to make some very important decisions based on the information. So our problem statement, in April, we were notified that our current API or HRP solution through Simpler will no longer be available as of December 31st, 2024. So that means that we have less than 18 months to evaluate, decide, and move forward with a new HRIS system. My recommendation as to how this will move forward is first to identify the key stakeholders for making the decision. HR is obviously an important piece of that puzzle. However, we also need to consider payroll. We need to consider accounting. We need to consider our leadership team, as they'll be the ones in the staffing and the scheduling, the time and attendance. So to get their input will be critical as well. I think that looking at this overarchingly is a very big decision that needs to be made. And to break that down, we need to first determine what is priority now and what would be nice to have in the future, and how are the decisions that we make now based on a system going to impact what the future implementations would look like. Also, as we're going to a HRIS system, we are merging two pretty independent hospitals. We've always been under one umbrella, but two pretty independent hospitals. So how do we align our practices to best practices and to be more under the one umbrella and do things the same? We currently run two payroll cycles. We currently can't share employees, and in a labor shortage that we find ourselves in, it would be really nice to be able to say, yes, we have an RN we can send, or yes, we've got a respiratory therapist we can send. Currently, they have to terminate from one hospital and be hired in another hospital to be paid. So step two is really deciding what are the best practices going forward, what are the priorities for the different modules in HRIS. Next would be looking into the different HRIS options, doing discovery calls and demos, and understanding which of those platforms are going to best meet our needs. And of those platforms, which ones have the best long-term outlook? So it might not be that we need a learning management system right now, but if one offers it and one doesn't, how do we consider that long-term impact when making the short-term decisions? So again, my recommendation is to look at the HRIS and payroll, time and attendance, benefits administration, and implementing an applicant tracking and onboarding process. In today's workforce, I think the first impression that a applicant has on an organization is that application process. And when it's a paper application or a clunky process, that says a lot about the organization. I think that's an opportunity for our organization to really step up and get with the times. So in conclusion, 1,200 plus employees and growing, it is not sustainable to continue manually maintaining more than 10 standalone systems. If we're going to look into an HRIS system and do this right, we need to dedicate the resources and do it right the first time and not take the path of least resistance. Thank you so much for listening.